Hey, Katana guy, I saw your video on Reddit and just noticed a couple things that, I think were a little off in your drilling. And, I thought I could offer, maybe some pointers to, kind of get you going and, help you out with your study of swordsmanship. So, some of the things that I noticed in your video is that a lot of your cuts lacked good edge alignment. Some of your guards that you were throwing were very wide and had very weird body mechanics to them that didn't really lend to a stable platform to actually catch a blow on. And a lot of your cuts were very widely overthrown, which would leave you vulnerable to a timing attack if your opponent decided to riposte against you. And a lot of these issues that you were having really kind of just seem to be control issues that may, in my opinion, may stem from you using possibly a sword that's a little bit too heavy for the level of conditioning that you have in your wrist and shoulder. But anyway, let's break into looking at some pointers that may be able to help you with some of the things that you've got going on. So I'm really a saber and broadsword fencer, but I'll use my katana just to kind of demonstrate things in a way that would be familiar for you. So with edge alignment, realistically, it's going to be how we throw our cuts and how we grip the weapon that's going to dictate whether we have good edge alignment. Because fundamentally, if we have good grip and we have good form in our cuts, our training should naturally tend to put us in a way that cuts with proper edge alignment. So for a single-handed grip, with these first two fingers, now that I'm holding it like I would a saber with a thumb up the back strap, I wouldn't suggest that on a katana, but to demonstrate, I'm holding it like this to demonstrate that most of the tension in your hand should really be in this thumb and forefinger rather than in the whole hand. You shouldn't be gripping it, like super tight. But most the tension for the grip should really be in these first two fingers. And these fingers, and I'm exaggerating here, should be let loose. Now then, on a somewhat more ridiculously heavy sword, or more forward-weighted sword like the katana, we'll wrap this thumb around the side. But still, we have most of our tension or gripping strength there in those first couple fingers, while this back part of our hand, these lower three fingers, are going to be loose. And when we actually go to make a cut, effectively what we're doing is tightening down these three fingers and sort of pushing forward with that webbing in the back of our hand. This is similar to how you hear about people talk about the push-pull motion that's supposed to be done with the sword. Well, this is how we achieve that push-pull with a single-handed grip. And in all actuality, I would keep my fingers closed in most cases, but just leave these fingers loose. And if we make a cut, we can make that cut by disengaging back, by just flexing the wrist back and snapping forward along a line, like so. And that keeps us with good edge alignment. And by ending fairly tightly like this, we keep our cuts close to the line of defense, close to the center line, in such a way that we don't really overthrow our cuts and leave ourselves open for like a quick attack on our timing attack on the riposte, or some other problem like that. Now with our guards, we're going to want to be rather tight in. So in saber and broadsword fencing, some of the guards that we would have would be something like this, which is our outside guard. I have my my nails pointing towards the floor, such that the edge is on the outside, and now I can catch incoming cuts along the edge of my sword like so. And so this line coming in towards my body is covered. If I simply turn my hand over, I've covered the exact opposite line coming in with the blade that way. Okay. If I go back to my outside guard and just drop the tip, I'm in an outside half-hanging guard, and that'll catch cuts coming in to my flank. And on the other side, if I just drop this will put me in the half circle or spadroon guard, which covers the opposite side. We can also have an inside half hanger that does likewise, but I typically do prefer the spadroon guard, simply because of some of the things that it offers. We also have the guard of St. George, which is straight out in front of us in this fashion. So we want to keep our guards rather narrow, rather than being wide with them, like so. Because in this fashion, if I'm responding to a feint or something like that, I've left my entire body open. The center line is completely uncovered. And with this weird crooked arm, I'm not really in a stable position to actually catch the blow on the blade. So in that way, I would kind of look just to, maintaining good form in your cuts. That keeps you rather close to the center line, like so. And just practice transitioning between your guards in such a way that keeps your guards rather narrow and not super exaggerated, here or here or here, like so. Because even though they look interesting, they're not very effective because, again, that's a lot of travel time across your center line, across the line of defense, to be able to cover the other side, when in a more narrow position, it's really just a turning of my wrist. Anyway, to introduce maybe some more regimented drilling that you can practice on your own to get a hold of cuts and guards like this, we could look at Henry Angelo's drill. That's a saber drill, but I do believe that it could be useful for single-handed katana. Now then, I would suggest for you, simply because you were a little uncontrolled in your demonstration video, you may want to use a bokken, and for safety, I really wouldn't suggest using a live blade anyway until you have a little more control over what you're doing. But Henry Angelo's drill is quite simple, and what we'll do is we'll begin in a position like this called slope swords. We'll turn out our left foot 90 degrees, step forward 18 inches, and then begin in the hanging guard. We'll then cut 7, which is directly to the forehead, and then bring our front leg all the way back, even with our other one, and enter the guard of St. George to defend our head. This is because a cut 7 would be most effectively warded with St. George's guard. Then we'll lunge, cutting the 2 to the opponent's cheek, bring our tip up, and recover in the outside guard. Then we'll count number 1 to the cheek, bring our tip up, and recover in the inside guard. We'll cut 6 across the flank, drop our tip, and recover in the outside guard, which would ward against that most effectively, and then cut 5 across the other flank, dropping our tip in this padroon guard on our recovery. Then we would cut 6 to our opponent's leg, quickly snap it on the slip with our leg, and enter St. George's guard, because that would be the most effective way to guard our leg while also guarding from a low-high feint. Then we'll cut 3, and then drop our tip, recover in this padroon guard, and then return to sloped swords. And this gives you a kind of back and forth. This is the cut, this is the most effective guard for the cut, sort of repertoire. And if you take it slow or with lighter weapons, it does give you a basic platform and a basic exercise to be able to just practice some of the basics of fencing. And at speed with a katana, that would look somewhat like this. Beginning from sloped swords, we turn out, go into our hanging guard, cut 7, George, 2, outside, 1, outside, 5, 6, half hanger, 5, spadroon, leg, George, 3, and then return to sloped swords. And most assuredly, this drill is really for the broadsword and saber. So, to demonstrate more properly, at speed, of course. So hopefully that's helpful. Doing a drill like that maybe 1 repetition, 2 repetitions, maybe 3 a day, just before you leave the house or something with a bokken, is going to be something that gives you some basic form practice and gives you some conditioning for your wrist and shoulder that you'll need to be able to handle a heavier sword. So I hope that helps.